What's up guys, Gabriel Varga here. Recently, I put out a video showing the game plan, the tactics, the strategy that I used to defeat the Muay Thai legend Lordzilla. And I got great feedback on the video, lots of requests for more like this. So today we are diving in on how I defeated Kevin Ross. Now Kevin was the poster boy for American Muay Thai for almost as long as I can remember. As soon as I started researching who was the #1 fighter in North America, Kevin's name came up. And he accomplished so many milestones in his career. Things like defeating high-level Thai fighters, being on the Joe Rogan podcast, just amazing accomplishments throughout his career. So how did I manage to KO this North American Muay Thai legend in one round? We're gonna break it all down in today's episode. Alright guys, before we get the episode underway, please make sure you get subscribed to the channel. Your support means a whole lot to me. It takes a lot of effort to put together these videos. And of course, a big thank you to all the new subscribers I've had in the last little while. We've had over 1,000 new subs, and that is amazing. Now, one of the big differences between the last video I did about Lordzilla and this video about Kevin Ross is the disparity in time that I took to prepare for each of them. With Lordzilla, I found out, you want to fight? Here's the dude you're going against. 10 weeks, be ready. With Kevin, I'd had my eye on this guy ever since I turned pro. I knew if I wanted to be the best in North America, I was going to have to beat him. So ever since 2009, all the way up to 2018 when we ended up fighting, I had at least known about him and in my mind gone through probably how I would defeat this guy. Now, when training camp actually started and I went, okay, I have 10 weeks, then I really lasered in on the plan. But like I said, Lordzilla, 10 weeks, Kevin Ross, almost 10 years of somewhat preparation. And I do believe that researching him and watching him for almost 10 years was one of the reasons that I was able to get the KO against him in the first round. Now, one of the big questions people have asked me is, if you were to rematch this guy, do you think you would do it again? And I'm very upfront, I'm very honest about it. No, I doubt that I would KO Kevin again in the first round. I think that happens 1, maybe out of 10 times if we continued fighting over and over and over. He is an accomplished fighter. He's a great fighter. He would not make the same mistake again. I would most likely stick to a similar game plan, but I don't think he would get clipped, and he'd already demonstrated in so many of his fights. He's probably, I don't even know how many fights he's had, 40, 50, that he is not an easy guy to KO. But I just wanted everybody to keep that in mind before I start the breakdown. This was not just a couple months in the making. This was years and years of preparation and understanding of how to beat Kevin Ross. Now, before we get into the video, one of the first things I really want to point out is because it's only a 2-minute fight, we're going to break down very detailed what things really worked and what things I had practiced over and over. This was not just, I threw punches and just, hope that I would KO him. Most of the things that I'm throwing in this fight were pre-planned. Even things as detailed as my round kicks and timing when to throw them. That was planned out. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. Small little techniques. You might see me throw a round kick and then I'm going to pause and I'm going to show you how I executed the kick and why I executed the kick in that way. All right, we're gonna start off and look at the first 5 seconds of this fight. And you might be going, what can he possibly do in the first 5 seconds? But in the first 5 seconds, I throw one technique 2 times that we drilled over and over and over in training camp. And I think right away, you'll see why. All right, guys, here we go. And Kevin comes out, he throws the jab, corkscrew, back a little bit, he goes to throw again, corkscrew. All right, let's pause, I'm gonna back up here. And I want to explain to you guys what the corkscrew punch is. Now I'm going to throw a link up here because I have done a breakdown with my brother of what a corkscrew punch is. It's not a big overhand like you see a lot of people throw. It's a very particular technique. When somebody throws a jab, you fade to the inside of their arm. Normally you slip to the outside when somebody throws a jab because you're safer out here from the cross. When you slip to the inside, their hand passes by over here, but you're right in line for the cross. So if you slip and then try to counter, there's a chance the cross is going to hit you. But what I use the corkscrew for is, as the jab comes out, I move my head off the center line. As the punch goes to pass, I come over top. I don't come way over. I come right tight to their arm and I try to tag them in the jaw. And you guys can see right from the get-go that this is something that I land like that. Why did we prep it? Because we watched Kevin Ross over and over and over. And a lot of times he trods forward. He moves forward, jab, jab, jab. But I noticed that his shoulder does not protect the side of his head. If you don't do that, you are very, very open for the corkscrew punch. And again, I've done a video on why your shoulder should connect to your chin. Again, I'll throw the link up there. And in terms of confidence, as soon as somebody comes out and they try to initiate their jab, and both times they weren't hard punches, but I tag them. And I tag him. Right away, that's going to already start dictating the pace of the fight, not even so much physically, but sometimes mentally. He goes, oh, I threw my punch to start finding my range and I got tagged twice. Darn it. So we move on and I try to throw it again. He becomes a little wiser, starts faking and fading back. Credit to him. Here's the next technique I want to focus on. With Kevin, who's a Muay Thai fighter, he is so good at catching low kicks. And if we look at this kick right here, bang, I land the low kick. So how did I do it? And I did it multiple times in the fight without him being able to catch, because Muay Thai fighters very often are so good at taking the shot and grabbing. But I knew if I stalled, if I tried to throw the kick and really let it go through, it would stick against his leg for too long. So you'll notice the speed with which I throw this low kick. Instead of boom and letting it sit there for too long, it's just pop, just a little flick. Trying to get that power not so much up really fast with force, but utilizing speed. The speed is going to create a little bit of a frustration for the thigh in terms of damage, but even more frustrating is when you have a game plan which normally works. They kick me, I catch it, I hit them. But now he's getting kicked, he's going to grab it, and the kick's gone. It's always so frustrating when within the first round, or the first minute, or the first 10 seconds, something that is part of you as a fighter is not working, especially if you expected it to. And I don't imagine he expected that he was not going to be able to catch my low kicks. So once again, let's move on here. Now, something that we knew about Kevin coming in is he's a pressure fighter. He likes to move forward. He likes to dictate the pace of the fight. Now, that's something I like to do too. So the question became, do I want Kevin to pressure forward while I pressure forward, and we're going to meet in the middle of the ring? And some people might go, yeah, you know what, Gabe? Your striking is better than his. Let's just meet in the middle of the ring and bang him out and you'll win. But my brother, my cornerman, myself, we didn't like that plan. We figured, let him move forward. As he moves forward, sometimes I jump in, I throw, but then I exit. Or if he's coming towards me, I move backwards. And again, I angle and then I go for the attack. If somebody is comfortable forward, 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 chasing people down, and you just stop and let them come to you, you're letting them fight their fight. And I didn't want to let Kevin do that, even though maybe I still do believe if we just meet in the center, if we fought in a phone booth, I would be able to win. I actually do believe that, but why go there? Why give him the chance to clip me when I can just utilize my footwork? And one of the easiest ways I managed to accomplish angling off or getting out of the way was with a 45-degree angle. So let's take a look at what that might look like here. I'm facing towards Kevin, where I'm in the middle of an exchange. Instead of throwing my left hook and finishing right here, I throw my left hook. I'm facing towards him and I take my back foot and I angle off. Now, once I've angled off, for a moment, he's still facing that direction, I'm on the side. Now, being upfront and honest, at this 45-degree angle, when I land there, I should be taking advantage of it and throwing shots. But unfortunately for me, it's not something that I've ever really managed to do very well. So I just decide, hit, and then I disengage. And a lot of times, because I'm the person who's already throwing and I angle, I go, you know what, I won that exchange. I don't always have to take advantage of being on that 45-degree angle. But the main thing was, we knew with Kevin, we did not want to be square on with him. We did not want to be tucked in the pocket here, banging away for too long. Again, not because he's a lot better than me there, but because that's where he's comfortable. That's where he's used to fighting. That's where people let him fight. They let him take that pace where he's trucking forward and there's no consequences for it. But once you start hitting somebody in the body or hitting them in the head and angling at the same time, things start to get frustrating for that guy pressuring forward, and you start to get in their head and you start winning the fight. All right, guys, here's something else I want to talk about in this clip. Kevin throws the jab, he throws the low kick, and I hollow out. Now, I want to break down hollowing out with you guys, and what I mean by that is taking the lead leg and pulling it back and creating an extra little bit of distance. And the reason I think this works so well is so many people in Muay Thai or kickboxing are used to always checking, standing within range and checking and checking. And you always give somebody something to hit, which means they have less energy being able to hit and pull back as opposed to following right through and missing. So we drilled this a lot for Kevin because I'd seen so many clips of Kevin round kicking people in the leg over and over and seeing them start to get hurt. So we knew because I was going to be bouncing a lot and I didn't want to be standing within range in this style, it was going to be difficult to always get my shin up. It would be much easier to just every time I see movement off that lead leg coming low to just pull back. The head stays in one position. You don't lower your head and compromise yourself to a knee or a head kick. You just keep your head high and your lead leg hollows out. Bum pokes out a little bit, and then from there you can step back and you've created a nice distance between you and your opponent. Now, something to recognize about Muay Thai fighters that kickboxers don't get as much training in is they have the ability to catch kicks. They're very good when a kick comes at catching, and we knew that to be the case with Kevin. He was super talented at taking a left round kick, catching right here, and then sweeping people onto their backs. So I knew if I just stood here and I did a switch and then went to throw that left round kick, well, he's steady and in position, he'll probably catch it. But if you wait for somebody to move towards you, as they're moving towards you, they're on the hunt, they're not necessarily thinking as defensively, and I was able to utilize this round kick just a little bop to keep him away, and because he's on the attack, he's not as proficient at moving forward and finding that catch. Now, something else to note, guys, Kevin's style, his hand positioning, whereas mine is fairly locked, he is rather loose with his arms. They kind of hang out a little bit from his head, and that leaves him open to wider shots that would come around the guard. And you will notice, I'll throw some clips up here, that I did manage to land a number of hooks that snuck behind, and it's just being aware that the hand isn't really tight. If somebody has their hands like this, they're really locked up, I'm going to be hunting to the body or probably looking for uppercuts. The hooks aren't going to really land on somebody like this. But with his style, we knew they would land. So that's why you saw in this little 2-minute clip, sorry, not clip, in the little 2-minute round, why I was throwing so many left hooks and why I was being successful with them. Now, if you guys know anything about me, you know the left hook is a big part of my game plan, especially down to the body. You'll see a number of times here, right there, I managed to land it. Now, this wasn't specific just for Kevin, but again, I did drill it because I knew that when punches came, like most people, he raises his elbows up quite a bit to defend his head, as opposed to that Dutch style where you're here and you kind of crouch. So the body is more open. You touch once, you touch twice, and then maybe one more to the head, or you come right down to the body. And in that combo you just saw, I'll throw it up one more time here, you're able to see that 1-2 body open. Now let's talk about the shot that stunned Kevin and ultimately, in my opinion, probably led to the end of the fight. And with the clip up here, you see I control the neck, I pull down to the knee, and I come to the left hook. Now this is a technique you don't see that often. It's very rare for people to throw a knee, come down, and come right into their shot. A lot of times it's knee, plant your foot down, and then punch, as opposed to one and very quickly into the punch there. The reason it's not utilized that often is because you're generally a little bit off balance. If you come from your kick and you start punching too early, your foot hasn't connected to the floor, and you're definitely going to feel a little bit off balance unless you're super, super advanced. But when you manage to find that ability to throw a technique, and as soon as your foot hits the ground, you're already landing your punch, you're able to keep that consistent pace on your opponents, where it's not 1-2, but it's 1-2. And like I said, even though this wasn't a major part of my game plan, I mean, we had so many things beforehand. We had lots of movement, bouncing around, not staying right up against Kevin. We had the corkscrew punch. We had the defensive round kicks, trying to make sure he can't catch. We had the low kicks, firing them in really fast so he couldn't grab them. This was way down the list in things that we wanted to utilize, but boom, we drilled it and it came out in the fight. And I didn't even think about it. And honestly, I didn't even know what I'd landed to knock him out after the fight until I saw the video. Because it was just such a muscle memory thing. It wasn't planned out. It wasn't like, oh yeah, there's that technique. I just happened to see the opportunity and my body just went into it. And I didn't even recognize after the fact, like I said, until I saw the video footage. That's pretty awesome. And then from there, guys, I see him wobble. I do my sort of patented switch knee. And then I just go on the hunt. And nothing here is really anything I really drilled for. I just let the hands go. I saw he was done and just fire, fire, fire those hands until the ref steps in. I didn't think he would step in. I thought I was going to get a knockdown there at some point. But like I said before, Kevin is a tough dude. He does not go down like that. I was hitting him, and he's still on his feet. Even when he was sort of out on his feet, he was still standing up. That's how tough this dude is. And massive respect to him, because like I said before, this is probably like 1 out of 10 times where this result happens and I get the KO in the first round. I am pushing for the rematch. I have talked to Kevin on Instagram. The two of us communicated back and forth, very friendly, very nice, just saying, you know what, I'd love to do it again. Of course, he wants a rematch. He wants a chance to avenge that first round loss, to just do anything better than that. And I want to show that it wasn't a fluke. And I want to, again, just, up my name in the kickboxing Muay Thai world. And beating Kevin a second time is, of course, going to do that. The guy, like I said, was the poster boy for Muay Thai in North America for so many years. He was the guy that I looked up to for so many years before I got to the point where I was winning Glory Belt and Bellator belts. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this breakdown, this look into the 2 minutes I had with Kevin Ross. If you didn't understand before, now hopefully you do. This is not just a victory where you jump in and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna fight. There is strategy, there is game plan. That is what my entire camp revolves around. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a like. Let's boost it up, get it out there, share it with a friend, show it to somebody who's interested in Muay Thai or kickboxing and likes to see breakdowns of fights. I have so many great people throwing down in the comments that they can't wait to see this channel explode. Well, like I said, thanks to the Modern Martial Artist, I've gotten a big boost, but I'm aiming to get above 10K in the next, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It doesn't really matter when, but if you want to help the channel grow, make sure you share with a friend. Make sure you get this content out there. Other people can see and enjoy it and learn from it. All right, guys, thanks for watching today. And as always, train hard, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.